Shalom and welcome to my channel. My name is Tamar and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the war, how this war affected us as a people. Now, October 7th hit us in Israel really badly. We've seen massacres, brutal massacres of people, raping, kidnapping of our people. We saw what our enemy can do when they have the capability to do so. And we will never be the same. The nation that we were before October 7th is not the same nation that we are after October 7th and that we will become after this war is finished. When I talk to Israelis and to friends of mine, I see how we have so much strength and how we think differently and we're no longer the same people that we were. Time will tell how much we change, how exactly we change, but there's a few things that I already see. I see a change in who we are, how we view the enemy, and in our army. So when it comes to our enemy, we're less naive about who our enemy is. We thought that when we transport Gazan kids into our hospitals and save their lives, and when we offer them jobs in Israel and they have more money, then the happier they become. We thought, like Westerners, that they want to build a better future for themselves, but really they hate us more and want to destroy us more than they care about building a better lives for themselves. And they say it openly. From the river to the sea, they don't want us to be here. And they write it in their doctrines, in the Hamas doctrine, in the PLO doctrine. They talk about how they want the extinction of the Israeli state. And it's time we take them seriously. When they have the capability to do so, they take action and they try to do so. We need to take them more seriously. Our Israeli Declaration of Independence talks about how we want to have peace with our neighbors, and we extend our hand to any of our neighbors who want to make peace with us. Their doctrines talk about the extinction of the state of Israel, and it's time that we take their intentions and their capability seriously. Another thing we learned is how to fight terror. Now, this is something that we knew, but over the years we kind of forgot and needed to remind ourselves. Terror has to be fought brutally. When you leave terror unfinished or unresolved, they get stronger. No more mowing the lawn. Basically, for years, we've been mowing the lawn. What this means is that they have a death culture in Gaza where they teach their young people Nazi doctrines about how to kill Jews and to cause for the destruction of the state of Israel. And every time that they begin attacking us, we kind of mow the lawn. They start attacking us with rockets. We use our technology capabilities and invent the Iron Dome, which protects us from their rockets. And so we're able to continue living with this threat. Or we're able to live a few more years until there's a new threat. For example, they come up with underground tunnels where they're trying to get to our towns and commit murders against us. We look into this threat of the tunnels and then we begin coming up with more technology and we build a very smart fence that enables us to protect ourselves against these tunnels. But then when they send in too many rockets that we can't ignore, or they send the rockets to Tel Aviv, we have no choice but to go on some sort of war against them. But we do this mostly from the air. But when it comes to the decision of actually wiping the terror out or going in for some ground invasion, we don't want to do it. Because first of all, we get pressured. We have international pressure that stops us from doing that. And we don't want to lose any soldiers because when you go in with your troops, you lose a lot of lives and it costs a lot of money. So we prefer to just mow the lawn, buy ourselves a few more years of this quiet and this peace, this no wartime. To us, it was like a drug. We wanted it so badly. This time, the Israeli public realizes we have to get the job done. We have to eradicate Hamas. And I asked friends of mine at work, I said to them, but are we gonna get the job done? Are we gonna adhere to some world pressure, or are we going to cave in and let the terrorist group continue to live? And all my friends, leftists, right wing, they'll say, Tamar, this time we need to get the job done. The Israeli public realizes that we need to get the job done. The next point is similar, which is we can't live side by side with a growing terror organization that's gaining more weapons and gaining more strength. Like I explained, we built defense on top of defense against the rockets, against the tunnels, and in Hebrew it's called hachala, which means containment. We tried to contain them as much as possible, but we realize now that we can't just always play the defense game. The northern border has an even more serious than Hamas threat, which is the Hezbollah in the north. While Hamas, who are Sunnite Muslims, is under the influence of Iran, Hezbollah is under direct ruling of Iran. They're also Shiite Muslims. They're a much more serious threat. They have more than 100,000 rockets. They also, for years, have been growing and growing their terrorist army against us. And the residents of the north, who have, many of them have been evacuated since the beginning of this war, realize that they cannot go back to their homes with this huge threat in the northern border. Hezbollah, for now, which really means Iran, decided not to start a full-blown war against Israel in the north. And it seems also Israel also wants to focus first on the Gazan border against Hamas and then to take care of the huge threat in the north. But the residents of the north can't go back to their homes when there's such a huge threat on the fence, and they see what happened on October 7th. And a few things that we learned about us. The idea of a Palestinian state is basically dead. Polls in Israel have shown that less and less Israelis believe in a two-state solution. Less and less of us want any independent Palestinian authority in the West Bank. Why would we, when we see what happens when there is even a semi-Palestinian independence? Basically, since we came here to Israel, the local Arabs have resisted our existence here. And in the War of Independence, the local Arabs here joined in the Arab countries around us who attacked us in our War of Independence in what they call a Nakba. Arabs fled their homes from Lod and from Ramla and from Haifa and from different places and settled in Lebanon and Jordan and the Gaza Strip. And since that time, they've been dreaming of destroying the state of Israel and going back to their homes. We bought into the lie that maybe they could be happy to have a Palestinian state alongside Israel. We were willing to give up parts of our God-given plot of land, the only Jewish country out of 22 Arab countries. We were willing to give up parts of it to create this Palestinian state. Enough with this lie. First of all, it's our forefather land, and it's not some real estate which we could just give away, and it breeds terror. They're not going to be appeased by this. This independent Palestinian authority will just create more terror against us and harm our security. And they say from the river to the sea. That's what they want. We also learned how united we are. As much as we were fighting before the war and there was animosity inside groups of Israel, we now realize how united we are, and we can't forget this. As soon as the war started, people generously volunteered their time, did everything for the residents of the south and the kibbutzim, from the Gazan border, and soldiers, people are doing everything. We really became one. My brother is up north as a reserve soldier, and he said that when soldiers just walk into any store, people say to them, please, soldier, don't pay for anything. Take whatever you want, please don't pay. And people are saying to him in the streets, you want to take a shower? Do you need anything? Just everyone is just so caring of the soldiers and of the residents of the South. Also, we learned that we're not just Israelis, we're also Jews. And just like we got addicted to the peace and quiet and no wars, we also got a little bit addicted to this feeling that we're just a regular Western country. We work, we go on vacations abroad, we have a good economy. We're just a regular Western country. Try to live a normal life and forget the fact that we live in this Middle East zoo with so many enemies around us. I think we're realizing more and more that we have a special role. And we're not just, a country with inventions and a country that has a good high tech and a good economy, but we have a role, and we have a role in the Middle East, and we have a role in the world, and we're part of the moral good side of the world that needs to eradicate evil and needs to build a just and safe world. And it's not just Israelis who are targeted, it's Jews all around the world, they're experiencing anti-Semitism. Another thing we learned is it seems that the issues we've been facing with the ultra-orthodox Haredim in the army after 3 decades of struggle on this topic might be resolved. What we're seeing is since the beginning of the war, a lot of ultra-Orthodox have been volunteering in a lot of different capacities in Zaka, which is a unit to clear away bodies. Many of them have asked to be drafted into the army. In this time of war, when we're fighting for Israel's basic security, they realized that they're needed to join the battle, and we realize that we need them. After the war, we'll have to come up with creative ways to make this happen, but we see that especially in times of war, and especially in times like this, we really need to work together. They're part of us, they're part of this nation. And there's also 2 things that we learned about the army. The first one is something that we also have known for years, but kind of have forgotten in recent years, and that it's not all about the Air Force. The ground forces are very important. Over the last few years, there's been a direction in the IDF that, the Air Force is what's really important, and it's more convenient because if we're targeting from the air, we don't have to sacrifice any ground troops. But, this is something that we've known for years, a slogan which is, you can't win wars with the Air Force only. You need ground force, you need ground force together with the Air Force. Terror is something that can only be eradicated from the ground also. So the ground forces are very important, and this is a very important lesson that we learned on October 7th. The last one is we have to let our army win. Since October 7th, we have much more moral validation, moral validity. Basically, what's been happening over the past few years is that we've handcuffed our soldiers so much it's become absurd with all these legal and fake Western moral values. I have a friend who about 10 years ago was in the reserve army, and he had Palestinians throwing flaming tires on him, and the troops on the ground were not allowed to do anything. They weren't even allowed to throw a shell bomb at them. Since October 7th, we realized that we have to win. Now, of course, we're still a democratic, law-abiding country, but tying our soldiers' hands so much, that's immoral. Terror needs to be fought against hardly. Another example is the hospitals. For years, Hamas has been using hospitals as their headquarters to collect weapons. They know that our Western values won't allow Israel to do anything to the hospitals, so they continued over the years to do this. Now, with the correct documentation, we're filming everything, showing the world, those in the world who want to listen, how much evidence we have, and when we do, we need to go in for specific things to the hospital. We do what we need. Sometimes being too moral is actually immoral. If we let the terror continue, if we let Hamas go undefeated, if we let terrorism grow in the hospitals, that is immoral. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. See you next time.